Story 1. The company I'm working for hired a new person last month as an entry-level programmer. He seemed pretty cool, just graduated with high grades. My boss had high hopes. And he did start great. All tasks are done in a very short period of time, well optimized, etc. And that's the point when he decided to be a jerk. About 2 weeks after being hired, he started to act like our boss when he was below in the hierarchy. Do this, do that, etc. I wasn't paying him attention since I was already tasked with the things he would order for me. But this didn't stop him. He non-stop asked everyone to bring him coffee, bring him a sandwich, etc. If someone refused, he threatened to tell the boss we are being disrespectful to him, which makes no sense. The day everything went wrong for him. Hey, bring me coffee, fast. He orders me. I'm busy right now. I said bring me coffee, now. No, you're not my boss. Yes, I am, and you will do whatever I say. No, not in this world. Leave me alone, I have to work. I'm going to report you for disobeying. Sorry? You are going to report me, a senior programmer, for disobeying an entry level. Who do you think they will favor? Of course, me. My dad recommended me to the boss. Listen, pal, just because you're recommended by someone to the boss doesn't mean you have any more rights than a regular entry-level employee. We'll see. And I just ignored him. He asked a few more people, but they all refused. He started yelling that he was disobeyed and we will be fired by the end of the day, and then he stormed out of the office. Literally, 10 minutes later, I got called in the boss's office. He explained to me that this guy reported me for disrespect and swearing at him. I denied all of that and told him that every single person in the office would confirm my story and not his. He didn't have a doubt but still asked everyone, personally, and also checked the cameras. They all supported my story, as well as the camera clearly showed him yelling and ordering around, and the boss went, "Okay, then, we'll fire him." In my company's policy, every employee's contract explicitly says, in big bold font, that if person A disrespects person B, insults him, and lies about the actual events, he is subject to immediate termination with no prior notice. Which was nice. The boss called the guy in his office, and he was smiling really hard. He was expecting to get me fired. I'm sorry, but as of tomorrow you're not an employee in this company, and your contract will be voided tonight. What? My dad recommended me here. You can't fire me. Don't yell in my office. Just because your dad recommended you doesn't mean you are entitled to anything more than a position. Your dad is a great person, but your behavior is completely unacceptable. I didn't do anything, just asked for a coffee, and they refused. That's the point. No one is required to bring you coffee. You can't just order around and think you're the boss here. If you fire me, I'll sue you. I'll stop you here. If you try to sue me or the company, I'll be more than happy to present to the judge all the evidence we have. Camera recordings, eyewitness accounts, etc. Now, if you do not leave the territory of the company, I will call the guards and report you for trespassing. You can't. Okay, that's it. Security. And the guards escorted him out. And on the way out, everyone started applauding the guards. Story 2. After I retired, I took a part-time job at a tool store, mostly to get the employee discount. This store was right next door to a popular farm and ranch supply store. There was a deep overhang in front of the stores, and the other store kept large bags of animal bedding and such beneath the overhang, but only on their side. One day, after my shift ended, I was hanging out in front of the store before bicycling home, talking on my phone. Karen pulls up in a nice SUV with a trailer, shoves a receipt in my face, and rudely demands I load a dozen bags of animal bedding for her. I tell her I do not work at the farm and ranch supply store, but will gladly call them to ask for help for her. Now, to be fair, the tool store and the supply store both had blue shirts, but each had the store names prominently embroidered on the front. The supply store employees were almost uncomfortably clean cut, and I had rather longish hair and a huge mustache. She starts screaming. She is in a hurry. She is almost out of gas. I am wearing a blue shirt, yada, yada, yada. I politely point to the name on my shirt and again say I do not work for the supply store, and it is not my job to load their products. Again, I offer to call them and ask for help for her. She storms off towards the front door to the supply store, yelling about how I should get a haircut, and she is going to get me fired. I said, "Good luck with that, lady," which really pissed her off. Her SUV was idling rather roughly this whole time. Eventually, she comes back with one of the managers of the supply store and an employee who loads the bags of animal bedding. The manager is trying to explain to her that, no, I do not work for them and should not be loading their products. About this time, you guessed it, her SUV dies for lack of gas. She goes back inside, and I see her leave with a plastic gas can and start hoofing it to the gas station a couple blocks away. Meantime, her SUV is still switched on, and her dome light is getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I guess someone could have shut the driver's door, but I sure didn't feel like doing it. Having nothing better to do, I stayed to watch the show I knew was about to unfold. After a good hour, she staggers back with a full 5-gallon can. I do not think I would have cared to carry it a couple blocks. It took her a while, but she finally figured out how to pour it into the SUV. As she was pouring it, she was screaming that this was all somehow my fault. Then she tries to start the SUV, and of course, it will not turn over. Some kindly old man stops and asks if she needs a jump, and gets out his jumper cables. After a few minutes, the SUV turns over, but will not start. It seems it is one of those that needs a fuse removed and the engine cranked for a while to pressurize the fuel injection lines after running out of gas. I try to tell her this, but she starts screaming at me again, and calls me some rather uncomplimentary names. Fine, Karen, call the American Automobile Association or a tow truck. I have used up my good deeds for the day. When a tow truck finally arrives, the driver hooks up his jumper cables, removes the fuse, and cranks the engine for a while. He replaces the fuse and starts it, to the accompaniment of huge clouds of smoke. He smells the gas can, and it seems she had bought diesel fuel instead of gasoline. He tells her he will need to tow the SUV, and it will need the entire fuel system flushed. She screams that I should pay for it, since it was still somehow my fault. With that, I headed for home on my bicycle, telling her, "Have a nice day." Story 3. I was out running typical Saturday morning errands with my youngest son and grandson. We stopped to get gas. The pay at the pump option was offline, so everyone was having to go to the window to prepay. Of course, since people had to go to the window, they were making impulse purchases of lottery, drinks, snacks. 12 pumps, so the line was kind of long. As I'm walking to the pump, I heard a car horn and someone yell, "Get out of my way, screw this." I heard a few others exclaiming things such as, "What the heck? What are you doing? Look out." I watched in horror as this lady literally drove through the line of people to pull the front of her car almost right up to the gas shack. Elderly lady gets out of her car waving her cane around, trying to hit people to keep them out of her way. She was yelling, "Get the heck out of my way. I have to buy my lottery tickets now. Go back to your cars, pay over there. Move it, out of my way." The cashier inside was yelling over the intercom for her to stop, to get back in her car, move it, and wait in line. Elderly lady yells back, "Screw you and all these idiots. I come here every Saturday at this exact time to get my lottery. I have to buy them at this exact time." The cashier tells her, "Ma'am, I'm calling the police. You endangered every person in line and myself, and also had your brakes failed. You will not be buying anything from here ever. What you did, your face, car and license plate are all on camera." The cashier called the police, but several people had already called them as well. EMS and police were on their way. "I don't care what you think you're doing. What you are going to do is give me," rattles off list of lottery, "and you're going to do it now." "No, ma'am, I am not." Cashier then asks over the intercom if anyone is actually hurt. No one is seriously hurt, but a few were bumped by her car and cane. The police showed up at that time and walked up to the elderly lady. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to please step away from the window and talk to me. Not until I get my lottery tickets." "Ma'am, you're not getting any lottery tickets today. Please step over here." At this, she picked up her cane and started swinging it around. "Ma'am, put the cane down. If you don't come to talk to us peacefully and stop using your cane as a weapon, we will be forced to taser you." M showed up, along with another 2 police officers. One of them says to the crowd, "Everyone please step away and to the ambulance. If you are injured in any way, let us know." The other officer says, "We need all witnesses willing to make a statement to come this way." Another 2 officers show up, along with another ambulance. The first 2 officers are still trying to talk to the elderly lady, and she's having none of it. At this point, she started grabbing things nearby, oil, car accessories, etc., and throwing them at the officers. The 2 officers who had just arrived approached her very slowly. "Ma'am, at this point, I'm going to advise you that you are under arrest, and you are resisting. Now, please, put the cane on the ground and put your hands up." "Screw you, I didn't do anything. Those people that were blocking the line should be the ones under arrest." She threw another bottle of motor oil at them at this point. "Ma'am, this is your final warning. Put the cane on the ground, hands up. Any further aggression from you, and you will be tased." "Oh, big bad cop going to taser an old woman for trying to buy lottery tickets? I don't think so. I'm going home, and you all should be ashamed for treating an old lady like this." She actually tried to get back into her car, but 3 officers moved towards her, and one of them reached for her arm. Whack! The cane went right up the side of the officer's head. Another officer tased her finally. Since she was elderly, the second M's workers immediately came over and checked her after they got the cuffs on. Everyone stuck around to see what happened and to give their statements. As far as I could tell, no one was hurt except the officer that was hit by the cane. We drove back by the gas station after picking up groceries, and the tow truck was just loading up her car. Story 4. I have a unique relationship with food. Growing up in a house with 5 siblings, 2 parents, and occasionally extended family staying over, the concept of my food didn't really exist. If you wanted something saved for later, good luck. Labels, special hiding spots, stern warnings, nothing worked. Everything in our fridge was considered communal property, regardless of who purchased it. This became a real problem when I started working part-time at 16. I'd spend my hard-earned money on special ingredients or takeout, looking forward to enjoying it after school the next day, only to find empty containers. No one ever admitted to eating it. Whenever I would ask if someone had eaten my food, like my pad thai, my family would all deny it. Mom would say she hadn't touched it, Dad would claim he hadn't been in the fridge since breakfast, and my siblings would either directly deny it or suggest I check with the others. No one ever took responsibility. This continued for months until I discovered my secret weapon, lemon juice. It happened by accident. I had leftover fish with extra lemon slices, and when I squeezed them over my food, I noticed my siblings making faces at the smell. The next day, my leftovers remained untouched. I started experimenting how much lemon could I tolerate. Quite a lot, it turned out. I began drowning everything in lemon juice: pasta, pizza, sandwiches, even desserts sometimes. My family thought I was weird, but they stopped touching my food. Victory. Fast forward 15 years. The lemon habit stuck with me through college, roommates, and now into my 30s. I don't even think about it anymore, it's just how I eat leftovers. Last month, I went on a vacation with 7 other women. We'd planned this trip for nearly a year, a beachside getaway in a gorgeous 3-bedroom Airbnb. We split most cost evenly, but food was separate since 2 people had celiac disease. One was vegan, and another had severe nut allergies. Our routine was pretty standard: beach or excursions during the day, then dinner at local restaurants in the evening. I always asked for extra lemon wedges and doused my food before eating. I'd also pack up leftovers with my name clearly written on the container. 3 days into the trip, things got awkward at breakfast. One woman, I'll call her Karen, was staring at me across the table while everyone else chatted. Karen asked if she could talk to me about something. When I agreed, she complained that I needed to stop making all the food inedible for others. I was confused since I hadn't prepared any group meals. When I told her I'd only been seasoning my own restaurant leftovers, she argued that was exactly the problem. I was ruining perfectly good food that others might want to eat later. I pointed out that those were my leftovers with my name on the containers. Karen said that some of them stay up later and get hungry, and it's wasteful to have food sitting there if I'm not going to share. I told her I was planning to eat it, which is why I brought it home and labeled it. Karen said I couldn't possibly eat everything I save, and told me she had been having just a little taste before discovering it was completely ruined with lemon. When I asked if she'd been eating from my containers without asking, she dismissed it as not a big deal, saying that's just how the rest of us feel because we share. I looked around the table, but everyone suddenly became very interested in their coffee cups or phones. Nobody backed her up, but nobody contradicted her either. I said those leftovers were mine. I suggested that if people wanted to share food, we should discuss it as a group and set some ground rules. Karen said something about selfishness, and breakfast continued in uncomfortable silence. Later, while getting ready for our day trip, other women talked to me privately. One roommate said she actually agreed with me about the leftovers, noticing some of hers had been disappearing too. Throughout the day, 5 more women told me similar things. One mentioned Karen had been eating her gluten-free pasta she brought from home, but she didn't want to cause drama. Another said she was glad I had spoken up because she had been afraid to do so at breakfast. It seemed Karen had been helping herself to everyone's food, not just mine. But nobody wanted to confront her directly. That evening at dinner, I requested extra lemon wedges as usual. When they arrived, I squeezed them over my salmon. Karen made a noise and walked off to the bathroom. One roommate suggested I might ease up a bit, reminding me the trip was supposed to be fun. I told her I was just eating my food the way I like it, something I'd been doing for years. Karen returned about 15 minutes later with watery eyes, looking at me across the table. The ride back to the Airbnb was tense, with Karen sniffling occasionally and refusing to talk. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual and found Karen in the kitchen, container in hand, my container, with my name clearly written on it. She froze when she saw me. I said good morning, and Karen immediately defended herself, saying the food was going to waste because it had been there for 2 days. I told her it was from just last night and it was mine. Karen said I was being ridiculous, that nobody needs that much food to themselves, and we were supposed to be friends. I told her that friends ask before taking each other's things. I suggested that if she was still hungry after dinner, she should just say so, and we could order extra or I could share willingly, but she shouldn't take what isn't hers without asking. Karen responded with a whatever, slammed the container down, and walked off to her room. For the remaining 4 days of the trip, she barely spoke to me, but interestingly, nobody's leftovers disappeared. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh, but then I remember the looks of relief on everyone else's faces when they realized their food would stay where they left it. The lemon juice trick may seem odd, but it's never let me down. Story 5. Disclaimer: I am not First Nations, I'm very Caucasian. This will make sense later on. So I work at a marina on a native reserve. The kind of marina that has a pump for boats and cars, and it's full service, meaning we go out and pump gas for the customers. We're in the same plaza as a restaurant, a tobacco shop, and a cannabis store, all on First Nations land and owned by the reserve. Super easygoing place. The management takes such good care of their employees. I couldn't ask for a better job. Yesterday, me and a coworker were going back and forth from the lakeside pump to the roadside pump. We were packed since it was Saturday of the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, and everyone was going out on their boat or going to their cottage on the reserve one last time before winter. On busy weekends like these, we have a police officer on the plaza to make sure people don't do stupid stuff. Because of the pandemic, the reserve is only open to residents and people who own property on the reserve. People constantly try to sneak onto the reserve or park in the private marina parking lot. That's why the police officer is here to keep the sneaky tourist at bay. The officer is a super great guy. As someone who's not fond of police myself, I can vouch that this guy is one of the good ones. So during a big rush of customers, a Karen pulls up. So a quick backstory. According to my boss, Karen came to the pot shop every other day and would always complain about bad products or something like that. So when she pulls up, instead of telling me she's getting gas, she just walks away. I call back asking if she's getting gas, and the conversation goes along the lines of, "Excuse me, sorry, but are you getting gas?" "No," she then continues to walk off. Meanwhile, there's a line of cars behind her. "I'm sorry, but if that's the case, you're going to have to move your car. We have other people waiting for gas." Karen continues to walk off towards the other side of the plaza. At this point, the officer sees what's going on and goes to talk to her. I see a wave of realization wash over his face as he stops her. Their conversation is out of earshot, but I heard something along the lines of, "How am I supposed to know? I know my rights," of course that came out from Karen, and, "Ma'am, you're banned from the premises," from the officer. They move back to the car. Meanwhile, I'm trying to calm down people in line who are all pissed off that this car is in the way. "Ma'am, for the last time, you're banned from the premises for 30 days. That was 9 days ago. You still have 3 weeks until you're allowed on First Nations land." "But I wasn't on the plaza property yet. I'm just at the gas shack." "What right do you have to talk to me that way?" "From that tree to that tree is also native land, and thus plaza property." He gestures to 2 trees on either side of the asphalt lot. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "What?" "So now an Indian can arrest a white woman." She gestures towards me. I am obviously taken aback and say nothing. She mumbles, "Traitor. You don't understand how they treated me back there. For the last time, you've been banned from the entirety of the plaza. You can come back in 3 weeks, but you have to leave the premises immediately." "But you're not even a real cop. You don't have any authority on me. Get off your power trip." "I assure you, ma'am, that I am a part of the police department, and if it's needed, I have full authority to arrest you as any other police officer would." "Oh yeah, sure buddy, I'm suing this plaza, and I'm getting you all fired." She gestures to me too, who up to this point was back inside with a guy paying for his boat's gas and snacks. "That's fine, ma'am. But if you don't leave, I will have to arrest you. And if you come back within the next 3 weeks, you will also be arrested." Realizing he called her bluff, she huffs, sits back in her car, and mumbles something racist and drives off. And that's the end of the story for today. The next day, it's dead slow. I've been watching Netflix all shift, until I see my coworker walking over from the parking lot to start his shift. Behind him, I see Karen being put up against a car screaming as the officer cuffs her. It's just barely out of earshot, but I see the officer say what I'm assuming is the whole, "You have the right to remain silent." As this is happening, I can hear Karen yelling, "What? So I'm getting arrested by an Indian cop? What a load of nonsense. I'm getting you fired. I'll sue everyone." And the officer pulls her over to the other side of the parking lot where I'm assuming the car was parked. It was far enough away that I couldn't see it behind the other cars, but could still hear Karen yelling obscenities. The officer filled me in on the details later, saying that she came back wanting to videotape the pot shop and all the health hazards, bad product, and health and safety issues there. Mind you, the process to open a cannabis store is meticulous. They won't let you open if anything is short of perfect, from what I understand. This store hasn't even been open for a year. All the equipment and everything is brand new. So the officer got wind of this and came back to arrest her. As he restrains her, she starts calling 911. I repeat, she calls the cops on the cops. Her justification was that he's an Indian cop, not a real cop. So the officer has to talk to the other police department, then clear things up with them. Meanwhile, Karen is screaming in the background. They extended the ban indefinitely. Me and my coworker are laughing hard at this, as it's going to be a fun story to tell at Thanksgiving dinner. Story 6. This happened maybe 3 hours ago while I was shopping. For a few days now, we have had security guards at the entrance who make sure not too many people and no visibly sick people enter the supermarket, and that there are no fights or such in the market because of the coronavirus situation. It started shortly after I entered the supermarket and walked to the bread aisle. There was that woman. She was kind of strange, looked like she was going to punch everyone that came too close to her. I was minding my own business, but my basket might have touched her shopping cart for a second. While I was standing on my toes in order to reach the bread on the top shelf at the back, she then looked at me disgustingly and said, "Watch what you do, you filthy brat." Then she stomped away. I didn't think much of it because since the starting of the whole corona thing, it's like everyone below the age of 60, which is by far the minority at my area, is someone who is going to kill you, and we are treated like that too, so I'm kind of used to it by now. I got some more of the stuff I needed and went to the veggies aisle. There she was again, touching everything. And this is something that you also don't do even if there is no corona or flu season, so she had some customers talk to her about that while passing her by. I grabbed some onions and potatoes. Both are in big cardboard boxes, so you have to bend down in order to get them. So I didn't see her, because I was surrounded by brown cardboard full of onions and potatoes. But then she bumped her cart into me like I was an obstacle she can push away. I am literally at least 20 centimeters taller than her and might weigh 15 kilograms more than her. The second time she hit rather hard, and a second later, I stood straight and looked at her. "Can't you watch out where you push your cart? You're not the only one shopping here, so look at your surroundings, and if there is something in the way, push the cart around it. It's your fault that you jumped in my way. Also, why should I watch where I go? You are young, have 2 eyes and healthy legs. You should have moved to the side. But your generation is generally full of stupid people like you." I just shook my head and wanted to go away as she pushed her cart into me again. Luckily, another customer saw that and got an employee, so the employee saw the last bump. "Excuse me, ma'am, you can't run over other customers. You have to watch out. Please don't bump into other people." She jumped in my way. "Sorry, ma'am, but another customer saw that she was reaching into the cardboard to the onions and potatoes when you came and bumped into her. And this time I saw that you were talking with her and pushed it intentionally into her." She huffed and went away again. I thanked the employee and went on my way. At the cooling section, she was there again, taking whole boxes of things, like cheese. So I walked there and got one package from the coolers beside her. Not from her cart and not in her reaching distance. It was even a different brand from hers, but she still looked at me and said, "You brat again, that's mine. You stole it. Give it back." I didn't steal anything. It is even a different brand from the 3 boxes you have in your cart, and I took it from this box in the cooler. I showed her and walked away while she kind of shouted something along the lines, "I wanted to have the X cheese too." Happy that I was almost done with shopping, I walked to the pet food section, and there was the employee from before. I smiled at him and got the cat treats and a new toy as he approached me. "Do you have a cat?" "Yes." "Can I ask you something? I'm going to get one too on Monday." I nodded. "About food and litter, which do?" Karen came running and interrupted us. She looked furious. "Where is the toilet paper?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. We are out of toilet paper and paper towels. The truck is stuck at the border, so it might take another week for another delivery." "You have some in stock. I need it now. Only a few packages." "We are out and most markets here are out of it. If you want some, you need to get it from the cities, the internet, or wait for the truck." He turned around, and we continued our cat talk. She interrupted us again. "So this filthy arrogant brat is worth more than a paying customer like me. I need you to get me toilet paper now." She was waving and snapping her hands like she was attacked by a massive amount of bees. I have no idea what she meant with a paying customer. Am I not a paying customer to her? Isn't she also a not paying customer if she still hadn't paid for the stuff in her cart at that moment? We are out. We don't have any in stock. No one said something about the worth of customers. You were the one interrupting. I cared for you first, so don't make any conclusions about this and leave before I get security. One of the security guards looked in our direction, as the employee had talked a bit louder than normal, because we were basically in the middle in between the entrance exit and the registers. Karen saw that and stomped away. I then shared all my cat knowledge with the employee and went to the registers after picking up 1 or 2 more things. Register 1 closed and 2 opened. I was the first at Register 2. I had most of my stuff already on the register when Karen showed up. I was already preparing myself for some more stupidity as she started to pack her stuff right behind mine, like leaving 1 or 2 centimeters space. Not even the divider fitted in between, so I pushed my things a little more to the front, and then she started again. Don't you dare touch my stuff. Keep your filthy hands by yourself, you brat. You even snitched my place at the register, even when I was in front of you at the other register. Well, I was the first at Register 2. She was not to be seen when this new one opened, and if a new register opens, the rule is whoever is first in line is first to be served. Your place at other registers doesn't matter. I didn't even stand on the other register, so this made no sense at all. She screamed like I punched her. She even touched me and held my arm, trying to drag me behind her. I hate being touched, so I slapped her hand away. That might have hurt her a little. You attacked me? The register man, coincidentally the same employee as before, saw that and wanted to say something, but I waved to him and shook my head. I was so done for today. I walked up to him, he scanned my stuff, and it was time to pay, so I grabbed my wallet, and because of those modern small pockets jeans, the paper tissue package I always carry with me fell out. Karen then snapped again. Oh my God, this brat has corona. Get her out. She touched me. I need to be compensated for this because I had so much contact with that filthy brat the whole time. I want a discount. She pushed the cart again into me, and the second time she tried, I held it and pulled on it kinda hard, so she almost fell, but well, she got what she deserved there. I picked up the package, looked at her. The cart was still in my hand to stop her from pushing it, which she tried, and just when I was about to tell her off, a security guard showed up. I thought I was doomed, but nope. The lady was asked to leave the supermarket. She of course resisted and said how I harassed her, attacked her, and so on. I explained what she meant with so much contact, and the employee offered the security footage of her attacking me with the cart. The security guard asked me if I was fine because of the potato encounter and this register cart bumps. I told her it did hurt a little and it might bruise, which it did. Thanks, lady. At the end, she didn't get anything from the shop and instead got a house ban and an escort to her car without her cart because she caused such a scene and was attacking another customer, verbally and physically. I got a 25% discount on my stuff, and I think I might have found a new friend in that employee. We are going to meet on Monday when he goes to get his cat.